Hello everyone. Today we're just going to do a quick review of the Polemoniaceae. So this is commonly known as the phlox family. It's kind of a smaller family, has about 25 genera and over 400 species. 14 of those genera occur in Colorado, and in fact, the center of diversity of this family is in Western North America. So while we do see members in Europe and Asia, we see a lot more diversity in Western North America here. You may already know some members of this family because they are common ornamentals. I would say that the most common ornamental is probably what we have here, Phlox paniculata, also known as garden phlox, and this is grown in many of the gardens here in Fort Collins. This here is the national flower of Peru and one of the two national flowers of Bolivia. And as you can see, the flowers are kind of tricolored, going from green to yellow to red, which kind of mimics the Bolivian flag, which you see in the bottom right. So this genus Contua is restricted to South America, and many of the species in this genus are endemics to the countries there. The Polemoniaceae are generally annual, biennial, and perennial herbs. Rarely are they shrubs, and in Colorado, I generally think of them as herbaceous plants. As I said, the Polemoniaceae are rarely shrubs, but here's an example of a shrubby member of the family. Acanthogyllia is a genus with a single species, and it lives in the desert in Baja California, Mexico. Leaf arrangement in this family can be either alternate or opposite, and the leaves themselves can be either simple or pinnately compound. And if simple, they can be either entire or pinnately or palmately divided. The leaves themselves are also exstipulate, meaning without stipules, and they often have glandular hairs. So these glandular hairs give the plant kind of a sticky feeling if you rub your hands through the leaves, and this will often give off a noxious odor that smells much like a skunk. The flowers are perfect, meaning we have both male and female reproductive structures present. They are actinomorphic, so radially symmetric, and we have a 5-meris perianth that is both syncephalous and sympetalous. And the corolla configuration itself is usually salver-form or funnel form to campanulate. And if you look at the pictures on the right here, they are great examples of a salver-form corolla configuration that you generally see in the Polemoniaceae. One kind of unique feature about this family is that we often see a contorted corolla as the flower is coming out of the bud, just as shown in the picture here. Taking a look at the floral formula here, you can see that we have a 5-meris perianth with a syncephalous calyx and a sympetalous corolla. The andrecium is composed of 5 stamens, and this bar that is beneath both the corolla and the andrecium, that is denoting adenation between those two floral whorls. This results in an andrecium condition known as epipetalous stamens. So if you look at the picture in the bottom right here, you can see where the base of the filament attaches to the corolla. So epipetalous stamens in this family. The gynoecium is syncarpous, composed of 3 fused carpels, and has a superior ovary. One last thing about the gynoecium in members of this family is that the gynoecium has axial placentation. The gynoecium generally has a 3-lobed stigma, a single style, and just a single unlobed ovary. Some members of this family have what we call hyaline membranes, and these are just translucent membranes connecting sepal lobes. You can see them, in this flower here, this translucent membrane there, translucent membrane here, and you can kind of see them all over the flowers in the images here. So not all members of this family have these translucent membranes, but if you see them, It's a great recognition character for the family. The fruit in the Polemoniaceae are loculicidal capsules. So these are capsules that split along the locule itself in order to dehisce the seeds. And they generally have a persistent calyx. And a persistent calyx is a calyx that remains on the fruit itself as it matures. Here is an example of a fruit in the genus Polemonium, in which the persistent calyx has enlarged and actually enclosed the capsule. So to do a little recap of the family, there aren't really any recognition characters that are dead giveaways telling you that a certain plant is in this family. But generally, the plants are herbaceous, and if you see hyaline membranes, that actually is a great clue that you might be in the Polemoniaceae. The corolla configuration is often salverform to campanulate. The leaves have glandular hairs, and they're sometimes quite stinky. There's a 5-meris perianth in which both the calyx and the corolla are united, and we have a syncarpus gynoecium with a 3-lobed stigma. For the next few slides, we'll just look at some cool members of this family. Phlox condensata here is also known as alpine phlox and is a high elevation species that can be found in the Colorado Rockies. Ipomopsis aggregata, also known as skyrocket or scarlet gilia, is a common native member of this family in Colorado. And as you can see, it has this classic salverform corolla. Here is another member of the genus Ipomopsis, and in this case, we see some really cool capitate or head-like inflorescences. Ipomopsis spicata is another member of the family that is native to Colorado, and the specific epithet spicata, meaning spike-like, is probably in reference to, the spike-like growth habit of this plant. Giliastrum acerosum is an herbaceous perennial with kind of a woody base. And one thing to take note of here is the corolla configuration. And as you can see, it actually appears to be more rotate than it is salverform or campanulate. So this is just a good lesson in that recognition characters don't necessarily apply to every member of the family, but they usually apply to most. Another thing here is that even from a distance, I can clearly make out these hyaline membranes, or these translucent membranes connecting sepal lobes. Aliciella setifolia. This is one of my favorite plants in all of Colorado. It is extremely rare, and that is because it is only known from a single occurrence. And it has a really cool story. It was actually thought to be extinct for over 100 years. I think there was one collection made of it, maybe in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and the type locality was given as Sheep Mountain. Now the problem is there are several sheep mountains in Colorado, and whenever people tried to visit the plant again, they apparently kept choosing the wrong sheep mountain, and the plant could never be found. Well, 100 years later, someone stumbled upon the population and couldn't identify this weird plant, brought it into the CSU herbarium, and it was essentially rediscovered. So turns out, it was residing on Sheep Mountain, but now we know exactly which Sheep Mountain. Linanthus pungens, that's also a native member of the family in Colorado. It's more of a subshrub, has these gorgeous white flowers and these spinulose or spine-like leaves. So it's actually quite unpleasant to touch. Colomia linearis is a good example of one of the annual members of this group. This also occurs in Colorado. All right, I've saved the best for last. So So this here is Polemonium pulcherrimum, also known as Jacob's ladder, and has these really distinct pinnately compound leaves in these gorgeous light purple flowers. And these are the guys that really just reek of skunk when you run your hands through the leaves. So super fun.